Hey, how y'all doing? Not too long ago, a friend of mine called and told me he was buying himself a new bread machine. And did I want his old one? Well, I said, Cole, you better believe I want it. Again, it's cold and wet outside. I'm just about out of my last loaf. It's time to make another one. You know, I like something easy. And boy, this is easy. And it makes some pretty good bread. Hard to beat homemade bread. I had never used a bread making machine before, so I was a rookie. I had to watch him do it one time and found out it's pretty easy. And you don't have to write the recipe down because it's written right on the side of the machine on how to make basic white bread, a 2-pound loaf. You start out with a cup and a half of water, and you just pour it in here. And then bread flour. Because we're using yeast in the recipe, you want the plain flour, not the self-rising. You just pour the flour right on top of the water. You don't mix it in. That's 4 cups. And we're going to put a 1/4 cup. He showed me that you just level the flour out. It doesn't have to be perfect. Next step, next ingredient, calls for 3 tablespoons of sugar. Well, we're going to skip that for now, and I'll show you why later. Next on the recipe list is dry milk, 2 tablespoons. And you just sprinkle that milk as evenly as you can across the top. Next on the list, salt. 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Well, that's about the 1/2 teaspoon. And this is the full teaspoon. Now it calls for butter. 2 tablespoons of butter. And you try to let your butter come to as close to room temperature as you can. Cut them up in little cubes. And don't put any in the very center, because that's where the yeast goes. Nothing like real butter. Now for the active dry yeast, we're going to make a little depression in the very center. and you're going to put 2 teaspoons of yeast in that depression. Remember we skipped the sugar? Well, instead of sugar, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of honey. And notice I don't put any with the yeast, just all around. Now we're ready to put it in the machine. It just snaps in, close the top, and we're going to set it. We want a light crust. It's already set for 3 hours and 30 minutes, and you press start. Now, what it does for the first 30 minutes is just preheat, and then it'll start kneading the bread. And you'll hear a beep. That beep is to tell you if you're going to add anything to your bread, like say raisins, you do it after the beep, kind of like an answering machine. And it'll keep kneading, and then it'll stop and let the bread rise. It'll knead a little more, it'll let the bread rise some more, and it'll keep going through that cycle until you hear the next beep 3.5 hours later, and you've got a loaf of bread. Once it's finished, and this is per the manufacturer's suggestion as well, you want to take your bread out immediately. It does have or will hold a temperature inside for an hour, but they say then your bread will get gummy. Not good. You want to take it out, put it on a plate. I elevate the bread just a little with a big knife and let it cool. Once it's cooled, I'll put it in a plastic ice bag. And since your bread doesn't have any preservatives in it, it's only good for about 3-4 days, maybe 5. And then you'll start seeing the mold. Put the knife underneath to let it cool off. My partner told me I needed a bread knife to slice this with. But I found that if I keep my big butcher knife real sharp and the bread has cooled down, I can slice it pretty professional looking. I guarantee you. Hope you enjoyed. Bring out that bread maker that you hadn't used in the last couple of years and make yourself some fresh bread again. We still have a few packages of garden seeds left and lots of DVDs from past seasons. So check them out on the website. Lash Pa.